What's up, TRP kids? Can you see me? I've got this huge stack of books here. There's a couple reasons why. Number one, I love reading, and all of these books, they're really good. The second reason, though, is because I got a question the other day from Marshall Malone, who wanted to know about the disciples. And I thought, that's a really good question. And in order for me to answer it properly, I needed to consult some of these huge books with a lot of words and no pictures. Now, there's things that we know about the disciples. For anybody that's spent time in church or gone to kids' ministry or Sunday school, you've probably heard some stories about the disciples. You probably know that there's 12 of them, and that's really important. I'm going to come back to that in a moment, but not right now. We probably know, stuff about Peter and how he was walking on the water with Jesus for a bit, and then he got scared and he started to sink. We might know about Philip and Andrew and how they helped Jesus to find the little boy's lunch when he had 5 loaves and 2 fish, and there were 5,000 people out on the grass, and Jesus broke the bread and passed it out to people, and he took the fish and he, cooked it up, divvied it out, and people ate. And maybe we remember that at the end of that story there was 12 baskets of leftovers, which is weird, right? Because there's 12 disciples and there's 12 baskets of leftovers. So hold on to that, because I think that's going to be important. We might know some other stories about Matthew when he gets called to follow Jesus, and maybe there's some others, but there's a couple of guys on this list that we don't really know anything about. Thaddeus, Bartholomew, Judas, the one who's not Judas Iscariot. We don't know a lot about some of these folks, and that makes us wonder if the number 12 isn't telling us something. Now, Marshall, I know that you like the Avengers. I know that you like some comic book heroes. So I want to show you a couple pictures just to help us get our mind around this. I know, Marshall, and Callan as well, I know that if you saw this symbol, you would know immediately what it means. You would know whose shield this is and what it represents, right? You know that. This is Captain America. You knew that. I know you knew that, and you know that I know that you knew that. And you also know, like, if we showed you this symbol here, you'd know who it stood for and what it meant. You'd know that when things go bad, that people in Gotham City put this signal into the air so that Batman shows up. You know that, right? You know that. Now, some people have said that the number 12, when Jesus calls these 12 disciples to follow him and to do the things that he's doing and to learn from him and to help him, some people have said that that number is a symbol, because a long time before Jesus showed up, Israel was made up of 12 tribes. Now, this is important because those 12 tribes, they made up the people of God in the Old Testament. And throughout the Old Testament, these 12 tribes, they got into some stuff and things happened to them. In fact, most of those tribes, they got destroyed by other world powers. There was people outside of Israel that were causing some problems, and at some point, a lot of those tribes had to leave their homes and go elsewhere. And by the time Jesus was doing ministry, some people have said that there was only 2.5 tribes left. Weird number, right? So when Jesus starts talking and saying, I'm calling these 12 disciples to follow me, some people are thinking that it's a symbol, and that it means that Jesus is restoring all of Israel, right? The place that used to have 12 tribes, and then a lot of stuff happened, and now they're kind of in disrepair, and there's only maybe 2.5 of them left when Jesus is doing his ministry, and now he says, I'm calling 12 disciples. People are thinking like, some things are happening here, and Jesus, what he's saying is he's going to fix or restore all of Israel. And this is so cool. That number is a symbol for all that Jesus does. He's restoring Israel. Now, did you know, Marshall, that this is sort of why we're called the Restoration Project? Because we believe that Jesus has started and is continuing to restore the world, right? Jesus is so great, and Jesus has brought people to himself, and Jesus is asking folks to follow him, to be what he's about, to love people like he loves people. And what Jesus is doing is he's saying, Marshall, I want you to follow me. I want you to help me restore the world by loving the people around you and by telling them about me and what I'm doing. So we have this group of 12 disciples, and we know a handful of them, but I think the bigger point is that there were 12 of them, and that 12 was like a symbol, kind of like Captain America's shield or the bat signal. Like, people knew and they understood that this wasn't just a number of 12 guys. This meant and this represented that Jesus was bringing all of Israel back together again, because Jesus is restoring the world. And when Jesus says to these disciples, hey, follow me. I want you guys to come and to be my people. I want you to go and do the things that I do. And I want you to preach the message about me and about God's love. That what he's also saying to us is, I want you to continue to be that as well. And I want you to help me restore not just Israel, but all of this world. Whew, that is so good. So we know 12 disciples, and we know that those 12 disciples, they stood for something larger than just the 12 of them. And we know that they were called to follow Jesus, and we know that we also are called to follow Jesus. And that is a cool thing, because when we do, we also get to help restore all of the world. And it can be just as simple as you loving your brother at home when he's being really difficult, or it's about you helping out around the house, or you being kind to the people around you, or you loving Jesus with everything that you have. So, be a disciple. Follow Jesus and do what Jesus does, and help Jesus to restore all of the world. Now, that, Marshall, was a good question. And I don't know if I answered it totally, but I think I gave us some stuff to think about. Now, I also know that maybe some others of you have questions. Tell your parents to send them in. We would love to give a response. Remember, we don't have all the answers, but we do have some things that we like to say. Next up, Micah Goad, coming for you. Your question, brilliant, love it. We'll get to it in a couple days and hopefully have a response for you soon. So, kids, feel free to drop a comment, let us know what you're thinking, and we'll give you a little bit of a response. See you guys soon.